Morning, everybody. It's 8 a.m. It is June 3rd. Welcome to my channel. Markets finally broke over a key level, and they actually closed over that key level. We pulled back to it. In SPY and QQQ were out balance highs. Okay, so there's going to be a big move coming soon. There's just a lot of uncertainty in the market. So my eyes are on those key levels. I'll go over them in a little bit. A lot of stuff going on with China still. Tariffs, I know that they imposed something, a Wednesday deadline for trade offers for tariffs. That's what's going on as well there. Just a lot of moving parts here in this market. That's why there's so much uncertainty. So without further ado, and I know I got an earlier start than normal today, let's just get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile, find structure in the market, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. All helps me find my edge in the markets, okay, along with anchor VWAPs. And of course, my trusty market internals, which gives me the capabilities of the market intraday once the market opens up. All right. I'll actually start doing a market internal review today in a little bit, okay, to show you guys what I saw yesterday. All right, so hopefully you guys can join me every morning. All right, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards. Okay, daily charts, your triple-headed monster, your bond, dollar, your VIX, and then we go into the Nasdaq and the ES 1-hour futures charts, and then followed that by market profile and buying profile analysis, which I give you the long and short trade scenarios. Okay, long and short trade scenarios. And let's get right into the futures. Watch us and see what's moving markets today. Okay. All right, so this percentage thing is still off with the Bitcoin. We're at 105,830. Okay, Ethereum's up 2.71%. Crude's up a percent. VIX is up 0.71. We're at 18.49 VIX. 30-year bonds being bought today, which is send yields lower. Dollar is up 0.37. The Russell's up 0.20. Nasdaq's flat, basically down 0.04. ES is down 0.15. Dow is down 0.20. Gold is down 0.46. Silver is down 0.69. 10-year yield is down almost a percent, down 0.90. Okay. We do have Jolts Jobs today. That really hasn't been much of a market mover as late. All right. Let's look at Mag 7 Plus here. Leader is Coinbase. All right, with Bitcoin going up here. Nvidia is up 0.52. Broadcom still going to report earnings down. I'm sorry, up 0.38. Tesla's up 0.29. AMD up 0.24. Semis are pretty decent yesterday. All right. Let's see laggards here. JP Morgan down 0.17. Berkshire Hathaway down 0.20. Eli Lilly down 0.25. And Google down 0.29. Alrighty. Not much to report on the top sectors. We'll skip that. We'll go right to sectors. And let's move. This is what moves markets. All right. This is what I look at the market internals for. Utilities is getting a big bump today, up 1.03%, up 1.03%. Right. And that would be your Duke, your NextEra Energy. Might have to look at that. Who's really moving that market there? Let's see here. And you got laggards. Technology down 0.04. This market's very muted today. Base materials down 0.18, and financials is the laggard today, down 0.22. Down 0.22. Okay. All right. That is your watch list. Let's move on to the economic calendar today. All right. Jolts Jobs 10 a.m. Factory orders 10 a.m. Fed Goolsby speaking 12:45. Fed Cook 1 p.m. Fed Logan 3:30. API crude at 4:30. That's your economic calendar. All right, now as far as some news, let's talk about it. All right, U.S. pushes countries for best offers on Wednesday. Look at as tariff deadline looms. OECD lowers global outlook as Trump trade war hits U.S. growth. Americans slow to book summer travel amid discount hunting. Let's see, Wegovy use up 50% among U.S. teens. That's a little worrisome. AI vibe coding. Startups burst onto scene with sky-high valuations. So-called code generation or code gen startups are commanding sky-high evaluations as corporate boardrooms look to use AI to aid and sometimes replace expensive human software engineers. Yeah, that's a scary profession to be in with AI. Okay, let's look at some other here news, and we'll just fly through it if there's not much here. So Taiwan Semiconductors, the world's largest contract chip maker, said the U.S. tariffs were having some impact on the company and had been discussed with Washington. But demand for artificial intelligence remains strong and continues to outpace supply. U.S. President Donald Trump's trade policies have created much uncertainty for the global chip industry and TSMC. So interesting. Tesla, the electric vehicle maker's Model 3 and Model Y vehicles entered the list of 124 electric vehicle and hybrid models in the Chinese government-backed campaign to promote sales in rural areas. Okay. Let's see, Uber Technologies. The company said the head of its delivery business, Pierre Dimitri Gore-Cody, is leaving the company after nearly 13 years. All right. So Block, Jefferies raises target price to 75 from 70. Pinterest, JP Morgan raises rating to overweight from neutral. All right. Now the juice didn't have much. We just went over really the news that's in the market today. That means we're going to move on. Okay, we're going to move on to daily charts. All right, let's do that. All right, so as far as pattern, we still have that inverse head and shoulders kind of holding up here. So you got your shoulder, your head, your shoulder, and then your neckline. So it's a bullish pattern. Okay. Like I said, I'm not really big into patterns, but you can't deny that. And you can see right here, that's last week's highs. Okay, that's where the market went yesterday, last week's highs. Okay, and then you got this resistance from prior weeks here. So, could be primed for a breakout, right? Now, as far as where we're at now, we are at 591.80. 591.80. We are on the upper third of yesterday's session. All right, let's look at futures. You can see futures right at the prior days, like I said, at the upper portion of the session. Okay, you got nice buy in excess right at the 9 EMA daily. Okay, so you're going to be looking to break these prior weekly highs. Okay, so look, you can see 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row. You break out of this, we're going to probably test all-time highs here, but just have to see. You have to see, haven't broke out yet. Okay, that's futures. Let's look at Qs. Okay, so the Qs, look, it didn't go to last week's highs. It went to the prior week's highs before that. Okay, so we're just holding price up here, right? Looking to break out. You tried to break out one day, you failed. But yesterday, pretty nice. You closed over the prior day's high. Let's just see where we go. So let's just call it 523 right now. We're at 523. We're right at the highs of yesterday. Right at the highs of yesterday. All right, looking at the futures. Just see the Qs here. See, we're right here. As yesterday's highs, we're right there. Okay. Also, right off the 9 EMA daily here. And you can see the big wick here where the failure happened. This is last week's highs. You can see that wick lines up. That's also last month's highs. Okay. Possible destination right there for the NASDAQ. Okay. All right. Moving on to triple headed monster here. And we'll go over to that bond market that's just been not doing much. Yeah, look at that. Last three sessions just in a range underneath the 2025 anchor VWAP. It's just not telling us a lot here. It's just waiting for something. Remember, we have non-farm payrolls, unemployment on Friday. Maybe that moves it somewhere. Okay, moving on to the dollar. Here's our dollar. Okay, and dollar is getting some love today. Okay, the VIX. It's our fear gauge. Let's look at our fear over the last days. You got push up here, right? Came back down. And now we're just in this range, anywhere from 20 and change down to 18. Like I said, it's definitely still nice ranges capable in this market. As long as you're over 16 VIX, it's pretty nice ranges. All right, pretty nice ranges. Now, I think I'm going to introduce this. I don't know if I'm going to do this every day, but let's go over a little internals review for you. I'll just do it real quickly. Okay, just give me a sec while I pull that up. And we'll go to internals. All right, I'll make a little graphic for this in the future, but I just want to show you what I look at every day. Okay, so what yesterday, you see the internals, how they were weak, right? I want to tell you something. Technology never got weak. So I was live yesterday, and in the room I was saying that off the market, we jumped off, initially went up. Okay, but ticks and internal started to get red. But tech was the one driving the market. So I said shorts are very poor here. You're going to get a poor short here. And then look what happened. The market recovers, kind of just like was in the middle, and then just eventually grew stronger. So there was a cross current in the market. The majority of the market was down. Okay. So that, I had to take off, so I couldn't have a trade. I probably wouldn't have had a trade, but you can see right here, this gamma flip point in the SPX was very pivotal. I was telling live in my room, I was like, look at this gamma flip point. If this holds, this should definitely go back up, and that's what happened. Okay, that's a little internal review. We go into the hourly charts. Okay, going to be quick today. All right, let's go right over to those hourly charts. All right, a couple things here. So we have a trend line here in the ES. Look, you got a touch here, a touch here, and guess what? There was your drop yesterday when the market looked like it was going to sell off. It came right to that trend line. Okay, right to that trend line, and then ripped up. And then look where we were at, the most traded price of this year. Okay, that's your 59.15, right? Been talking about this for multiple sessions. Then look, we finally had an hourly close. A couple of them, a bunch of them above this level. What happened? We pulled back into this level. Guess what? It gets bought back up. Okay, so the market just needs to hold above that level in order to make a move higher. Okay, so don't know what to expect. I do have an anchored VWAP from this high, and it already has a close over it. So it's a feather in the cap for the bulls. You broke this anchored VWAP from the highs. Feather in the cap that you held this major level. Okay. That's really all I wanted to show you in the ES. Let's move over to the NASDAQ. Okay. So in the NASDAQ, we have a trend line as well. There's where it starts. You have one touch, two touch, three touch, right? Pushed up. Okay. Took out this major level, that 21435. Most traded price of the rolling year, most traded price of this year. It's a major level, okay? And you held it right here. Pulled back, broke the anchor VWAP from these highs, and now you moved into this supply zone, which you're getting a little bit of selling, which is understandable. So look to hold this level today to see if we can go higher. You take back this level, you see if you can break this trend line. So very pivotal level. Keep your eyes on those levels, okay? Keep your eyes on those levels. That's your hourly charts. Okay, I'm going to switch over now my workspace. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. And we'll analyze the market profile, volume profile. Okay, let's do it. Here we are. Alrighty. All right, let's look at this, guys. And we're gonna we'll look at the weekly profile. Still in balance, right? Got excess to the upside. You got your value area, and then you got excess to the downside. So we're in balance. Price is now right here above value. Okay, you're holding above this major level. That's where we're at. Okay, now real quickly, let's just recap yesterday. Okay, so the market opened here, right? And what did we do? Pretty much drove down where right to overnight lows. Didn't even take them out in the ES, and we found buyers. So it's basically the balance lows. Okay, balance lows, and then it just got bought up because tech was driving the market, and it eventually closed above that major level. You closed here. Okay, that's kind of a very bullish close, right? Close at the highs. All right, so that's what happened yesterday. Okay, now let's talk about levels for today. All right, so currently here's your high, and we got very easy levels today. So here's your RTH highs from yesterday, 59.53. Okay, 59.53. Your overnight high, 59.55. So this becomes a confluence high also with the close. So this level is your confluence high with supply zone here. Okay, that's going to a potential breakout level. Now look, it actually lines up with 59.55 from this session. So it's confluence high. Okay, very easy level to look at. The close here, right? So now, I normally will talk about this, but it doesn't matter right now. But look at the overnight inventory. Okay, you opened up and only had this much long activity to this much short activity. So generally, I would call that 95% net short. But that edge is gone. Okay, because the price is back here. Price was down here. Oh yeah, I would like that. Okay, for a long. But that edge is not there anymore. Okay, what else do we have here? What else do we have here? Okay, so overnight lows, 59.09 lines up with this big level, right? So we have to have, right? It encompasses yesterday's most traded price. Okay, the big level, that 59.15 is the most traded price of this year. Okay, big level. So you want the market to hold this. You don't want the market to, so that's a very key level. The next level is your balance area lows. That's 58, let's call it 70 to about 53. Let's bring it down here. You got a demand zone there, right there. Okay. That's some roadmap for today. Let's get into scenarios here. All right, so price is right here, right? Okay. Now, we know we got confluence high up here. We know we're finding acceptance above this major level, 59.15. All bullish. Okay. However, we know we're in balance. So shorts could definitely engage here, and we can go down to this balanced lows, which would be totally normal. All right, because we're in balance. You're in balance until you're not in balance, right? Because as soon as these shorts start to take, longs will take profit, and then you go to this side, right? That's just how balance works. So, first thing we want to look at, okay, is any pullback, okay? I'll give you a couple scenarios here. You can pull back, and guess where this is? This lines up with the most traded price of the overnight, which is right here, and our major levels. I actually see this supply zone has been broken, so that's no longer valid. All right, so here's the first thing. I wouldn't mind push up, pull back to major level, overnight most traded price, and the most traded price of the year. This is the monster level. Anywhere in here, okay? And you get a hold, higher lows, try to take out the supply zone, and then what are we going to meet? That confluence high. This is the big breakout level here, that 59.53 to 59.55. You want to really rip through that hold, and then we could probably trend up and maybe tap last week's highs. Last week's highs at 6,008. 6,008. This would confirm a breakout out of balance. I do not know that's going to happen today at all, right? Another trade that would happen is you just come up, rip through the confluence high, and you wait for a pullback. Now, generally, I would only like this text driving the market. Okay, everything looks green, and you just get some type of pullback, maybe to the close, hold, and then we can start to make our move up. Okay, the last one that I'd probably not the last one. That's a lie. That's a lie. So this could be a little bear trap here. You could rip down, try to break this major level, the most share price yesterday, hold. Really got to be quick, and then you can try to go higher. Okay. Now, that's all good and dandy. Over this major level, right? Now we are in balance. Okay, so it does give us another option, right? If the market, okay, kind of like, okay, this is going to be still in balance, and the market tends to push down to this level in this area, right? Balance area lows. Depending on the internals for me, I would definitely look to go long. Okay, so anywhere in this demand, you can get love, go right back to the mean. Anywhere, even out here into this little gap. Now, like I said, I don't want internals super weak at this point, and they might be. But even if they are, this is probably the only time I'll think about still stabbing at a long because we're in balance. Okay, and you can just rip back up. Okay, so that's your longs. Let's go with the short side now. Okay, now if we were going to stay in balance, well, we're right near balance area highs, right? So what I would like to look for, if I'm like remember, if internals show me, oh, tech's relatively weak, the overall market's relatively weak, and let's say we push up and we take out these balance highs, 59.55, but yet we wick, come back through yesterday's close, and we start to get weak, I'm gonna like this, okay? And I'm probably gonna take some off at this big level, 59.15. If we can push through, yes, this will come down and we will test yesterday's lows. Okay, most likely take out the 58.67s and then test the balance area lows. Okay, maybe you go down to 58.20 or last week's lows, 58.13. Right, and we can actually have a breakdown lower. I don't know. Okay, so we are in an area where, hey, I don't mind being shorting that balance area highs, because if the market stays in balance, that's what's going to happen. Okay, balance area is traverse to highs to lows. It's just how it works. That's just how it works. Okay, that's your ES. Move on to the Nasdaq. Okay, let's move on to the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is a little too relatively stronger. Okay, mildly relatively stronger, but it is. But it is. And let's look at our profile. Here's our big, that was the failed break out, but it gave us excess, right? And then gave us value, and then gave us excess to the bottom. So we're in balance. Price is above value area high. Okay, we are accepting value over the 21435 most traded price of the year and of the rolling year. Okay, big level. Accepting price, that is bullish, right? That's how I follow structure. Oh, price is here. Well, I want to be long if we hold above here. I want to go with strength. Strength is above this level. Okay. So let's look at price. Okay. Same structure, which is nice. So the ES and the Nasdaq are sharing structure, which is very nice because it makes it nice to sync up markets. Okay. So you definitely have, you can see a prior weekly high here, right here. Okay. That orange. It's a prior, not last week's high, the week before that. Okay. It's at 2156, 21560, 21560. This area, okay, encompasses, there's a supply here. You got yesterday's close. All right. That's kind of our mini balance highs. Mini balance highs. Now the overnight inventory was 100, close to 95% net short, but that doesn't matter anymore because the price is up here. Okay, so the structure is very, very similar to the ES, which is nice. Okay, so here you have overnight lows lining up with the major level, and the bottom of it is yesterday's most traded price, just like the ES. Okay, you do have week to date, month to date VWAP right here as well. Okay, and then down here in my live stream yesterday, I was talking about the 212, I believe 28. That was the overnight most traded price. Overnight most traded price right here. You can see that VPOC here, and that held the market. So this level right there, the balance area, kind of lows here, held the Nasdaq, especially when Nasdaq was driving markets. I mean, not, I'm sorry, technology, semis, communications. Like Meta had a big day yesterday because they're going to roll out AI advertising. So that just made Meta just skyrocket. Okay. All right. So we're inside yesterday's session. Price is up here. This is pretty bullish where we're at right now. Okay, pretty bullish. You do have a supply zone up here, and there's single prints. So let me put that. Let me see. Is that real time? Yes, that is. All right. Let me put that on my chart because I want to make sure I have those single prints there. And let's see here. Let me just grab something so I can copy it. And we're going to mark off these single prints here. Remember, single prints are emotional buying or selling. Okay. And it's kind of like a temperature gauge for me. Okay, so we'll just single prints here. All right. So now I know there's single prints there. And we have a supply zone right here. Okay. So I know from this zone, selling ensued, but there's single prints. Okay, so I'll get into that, what that means in a second. Okay. So I don't believe the ES had this because the ES didn't go up this high. Okay. So that is a little different. However, this structure is very similar. All right, let's get into scenarios here for your NASDAQ. We're going to start with the bull side. All right, price is right here. Now, number one, you can break this confluence high, hold the close from yesterday, and try to rip up. Now, This is important because these are single prints, okay? If the market is pretty nice and strong, you could definitely rip those up. And I would suspect you do and hit the end of that supply, which would be a resistance level of 217. Okay, then you can try to work yourself up to the next supply zone. Okay, all right, that's one. Now, you can also come up here, fail, come back down to that major level, anywhere in this area. Okay, notice this is the VPOC again of the overnight. So you can really come down here and touch, boop, higher low, bust through that confluence high, bust through single prints, and try to make your way up here. Now there is a naked VPOC at 218. Okay, that's just an untested most traded price of a day. You do have last week's highs, 218.58.75 right here as well. Okay, same thing as the ES. As long as we hold these levels, even if we dip our toe into this demand and come back, it's bullish. Okay, now again, like I said, because we're in balance, and there's a chance that if you take out that big level, you're going down here and you're going to test balance area lows. And this is the only time, even if internals are kind of weak, that I would be interested in taking stabs at longs, just because that's just how balance works. Are we really going to break out of balance? I don't know. No one ever knows that when we're going to do it. Okay, but if we came down here, I'd think about a long. If we came down here to this demand zone, I would think about a long. So there's a lot of options. Bear side. Just like the ES, we are in supply. We are at our little balance area highs in the NASDAQ. This is a very important level. Could be a bull trap, right? We're right at yesterday's highs at the upper end of the overnight session. Upper end of the overnight session. So I could definitely see us going like this, taking out the confluence high, coming under yesterday's close, and that's when the shorts come in and the longs cover. Now, overnight most traded price is 214.60. Okay, and you got your major 214.35 most traded price of the rolling year and of this year. If you take this out, okay, why this works is because longs are getting paid. Longs are getting paid. And as soon as you go through that major level, longs are going to liquidate and new shorts are going to follow. And remember, if longs liquidate, they become sellers. Hence, you go back to balance area lows and you're going to come and find yourself down here. Just how it works. That's why balance is the way it is. Balance high, balance low. Balance high, balance low until you break out. Okay? So we could definitely rip down. Okay? If we take this demand out, you're going to meet 210.71. It's a big, pretty nice demand zone here. Below that, you do have single prints. Below that, you do have single prints. Okay? So, and you can find yourselves at last week's lows, 209.55. You break that, I don't know if today we go to 207, but this is very viable. Market has to get some weakness here. And like I said, we could bounce right there. So it's actually cleaner for a short right now because it's really all about here. Now, of course, I have to say, we couldn't push up into this supply, right? But if the market's driving strong, I'm probably not going to be interested in a short. But it could fail here as well. And boop, 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 boop. Okay? That's it. That's the analysis for today. All right? If you enjoyed that, please smash that like button. That'd be much appreciated. And of course, hopefully you can join me every morning. I give you the market news, the story, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, basically daily charts and all that jazz, as my boy Rand likes to hear me say. So, and I got my Alexa here giving us my reminder here to take my daughter to the bus, which is awesome. So, everybody, we have our plan. In balance, when you're in balance, it's a nice way to have a clean setups because everybody knows where the balance area high and balance area low is. Okay, it's pretty nice when you get those opportunities because it's either going to work right off the bat because you know everybody's going to get short at resistance, or it's not. But right now, it's been working. So, and this market is in a flux. There's uncertainty. So I would say you probably lean towards more balance, but you never know. Nobody knows when the breakout's going to happen. But we have data coming out at the end of the week, okay, which will have to do with Fed, how the Fed is going to cut rates, unemployment, and the non-farm payrolls. We have to see. Who knows how it shakes out? Okay, who knows how it shakes out? All right. So we got our plan. All right. Remember, no trade's a trade. Hopefully, everybody stays green today. All right. If you want, pretty sure I'll probably be live again in my room. That's my Discord, Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, join, and see how I update the markets live. And pretty much, if you watch or listen to me, like I always say, I can read the market every day. It does not surprise me. Okay. You'll see if you're in the room, I'll be calling out what I'm seeing and most likely what will happen. Or it's an if then scenario. This should happen. Okay. And I'm very, very rarely wrong. Doesn't mean though I'm executing a trade constantly because I'm not always 100% sure. You're never 100% sure, but there's times when things go to my level, everything lines up. Yeah, I'm going to take a trade. But sometimes the market is not giving me the A plus setup. However, I have a feeling of what the market probably will do, but it's not a trade setup. So come join, check it out, and see how I read the markets. I believe everybody would be pleasantly surprised and like what you see. All right, so see you in my Discord. If not, I'll see everybody tomorrow.